just for this year, because something long-term. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Town of Delafield Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, January 25th, 2022. If you'd all rise and join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Town Administrator, would you like to do a roll call?
Supervisors Dionysiopoulos,
Present.
Kranek,
Present.
Wolfley,
Present.
Michaels,
Present.
Chairman Troy.
Present.
Thank you.
Citizens' comments. Comments from the public. Citizens regarding items that are or are not on the agenda. The board may not engage in a discussion with the citizens making the comments. Individual presentations are limited to 3 minutes, and citizens shall follow the rules set forth in Section 2.04, Sub 1, Sub D of the Town Code. Is anybody interested? Okay, then we'll move on. Approval of the minutes of the January 11th, 2022 board meeting.
I'd like to make just one comment about we need a spelling correction in there for border. It's B-O-R-D-E-R rather than B-O-A-R-D-E-R. Regarding
Which?
the, under the fourth order of business for the border agreements with the surrounding municipalities.
Okay.
And otherwise, I'd like to move to approve the minutes with those corrections from January 11th, 2022.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as corrected for the January 11th, 2022 meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Action on vouchers submitted for payments. To my knowledge, there are no budget accounts or amendments to the 2021 budget, so we'll move to accounts payable and payroll.
For accounts payable, a motion to approve payments of checks 65276 through 65345 in the amount of $9,951,527.78. And for payroll, a motion to approve the payrolls dated January 21st, 2022 in the amount of $15,482.17.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the accounts payables and the payroll as submitted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And that number is so high because of the tax back to the school districts?
Correct.
Okay.
Communications, I don't believe there are any. I also do not believe there's any unfinished business. So we'll move along to new business, item 9A, discussion possible action on the renewal of insurance for 2022 property, vehicle, and liability coverage. Mr. Michael. Happy New Year, by the way.
Well, good evening. I'm just gonna, hit on the highlights of changes. I gotta thank Dan, obviously, for, this year was a little bit more difficult from a renewal standpoint. The carriers are asking a whole lot more questions on cyber. They're asking a whole lot more questions on claims, or on the crime policy. So, Dan, thank you for, spending the time going through those applications. They're not fun. They're only getting worse, unfortunately. The insurance industry obviously is going through some changes right now. There's a lot of worry on the whole cyber piece. There's a lot of worry with cat losses when you compared 2020 to 2021. Just the number of cat losses were about equal. But when you add them all up, last year in 2000 or 2 years ago in 2020, cat losses were $109 billion. in 2021. That was the highest ever. And then in 2021, it jumped to 116 billion cat losses. And when I mean cat losses of $1 billion, it's a claim that has at least $1 billion tagged to it. It could have $10 billion to it, right? But when you have that many cat losses, underwriters are looking at things a little bit differently and reflecting it in the premium, unfortunately. So, but from a high level, right, you know, the changes that we made this year in the property form, just the buildings and business personal property, we took off $50,000 off of fire station number 2. Unfortunately, that was not reflected in the premium, but that's, you know, the cost on that one is going to be about $40, right? And then on the inland marine, good news, we got the okay, right, to buy a new Caterpillar at the tune of $208,000. That's not reflected in the premium, but that's going to be coming in at about $242. And then, you know, from a work comp standpoint, our mod ticked up from a 0.81 to a 0.84, and that's really reflective in the rates that were set by the state of Wisconsin. They went down about 2.8%, just about the exact same increase in our experience mod, right? So when rates go down, the experience mod automatically gets inflated, whether we have claims or not, right? The year that came off the mod and the year that came on the mod were almost identical. So it was really due to the rates. We also had $73,000 more in payroll, right, for 2021 to 2022, and once again, 22 is estimated for this year. And then the, you know, the cyber piece is, you know, we had the cyber claim. Community Insurance, for those of you that don't know, had added cyber coverage starting about 12 years ago. Nobody was using it, right? So it was real cheap for them to add it. Our agency represents over 6,000 clients. And last year, you know, we on average would see one claim a month for fire, right? So it wasn't too bad. Right now, we're seeing one claim a day on cyber. So it's hitting home. It's hitting pretty hard. Most of our carriers are not taking on new clients from a cyber liability standpoint. That's how bad it's getting. If we have coverage with somebody, they're asking a whole lot of questions. Do you have multi-factor authentication? And on and on and on, as Dan knows from that application. It's getting difficult to place, or getting more difficult to place. You know, there's a coverage called terrorism out there right now that the federal government has decided to fund. I don't know if cyber is going to get to that place at some point in time where every policy that's written, you know, just a little bit of premium goes towards it and it becomes a government piece, kind of like the flood insurance that's out there as well. But that's how serious cyber is getting. Community Insurance Corporation had to make, that's our carrier, had to make some changes to the policy to stay relevant on the cyber side. So we used to have, well, we still have $1 million aggregate limit on the cyber, but then on if you look at the coverages, they gave us $500,000 for each one of the different coverages as opposed to $1 million. So they backed off a little bit on the coverages, you know, and then increased the deductible from $2,500 to $5,000. I knew it was coming. I see it with everyone. I don't care whether it's Chubb, Travelers, CNA, HDI, the people that provide that coverage. They're all doing it. The good news, you know, for us, if we were to go into the marketplace alone right now and purchase cyber and have $1 million of coverage, probably would be in the realm of about $10,000. Community Insurance has never charged for this piece of it. Do I see it coming down the pipe at some point in time? Yeah, it's going to have to. Unfortunately. But so far, the general liability, and that's where the cyber piece is in, we had a 6.6% total increase in that line of business. So part of it, we did have a cyber claim. The other part of it is they're trying to just get some extra revenue on that cyber piece of it. So we've got a couple options this year. And, you know, we always have the injunctive relief as an option to purchase. It's roughly $1,300 this year. And for those of you that injunctive relief, from a standpoint of a general liability policy, what triggers a claim underneath the standard general liability policy, right, is somebody requesting damages, right? Something to be paid, whether it's legal fees or it's damages to a building or you know, or a bodily injury. But often, in claims that come in through municipalities, there's no request for damages, right? It's not even asking for attorney's fees. They just want to battle, right? And often it's in zoning issues. So we've always taken injunctive relief, Ron. We've done it before in the past. It's to trigger, it's to have them be able to defend us and indemnify us for a claim that isn't asking for damages, right? So that's all the injunctive relief piece is. It's $50,000 of coverage, and I think it's roughly $1,300. I should look at that again, but
1373.
1373?
Yep.
Yep, yep. So, that's kind of the coverages in a nutshell. Obviously, we have med pay. We've always declined med pay on the auto, pretty inexpensive, but, we have the statutes that protect us on that. So I could go either way on the med pay on the auto. Community Insurance Corporation is smart enough to understand. Med pay is what they call no-fault coverage, right? So, somebody could, in an auto situation, I was trying to come up with a situation with Dan, how often do we have somebody else in our vehicles, right? Almost never, right? And if we did have somebody else in our vehicle and we were at fault in an accident, Community Insurance Corporation is smart enough to pay for it, right? For that individual that's in that vehicle, as opposed to just saying, let's pay it underneath the med pay provision. So I don't think it's good money spent, so I would not say we should take it, but that would be up to you guys. Anything in the proposal you guys want to discuss, talk about, spend more time on?
Just step back a minute. You're saying don't take the med pay option?
Yeah, we have never taken the med pay in the past.
Is that a per vehicle line item, or is that just a
No,
like
yeah,
blanket amount?
a total amount just for to have med pay on all of our autos, right?
But that would apply to the driver too.
Well, the driver would have workers' compensation, right? So if he's in our vehicle, he's got work comp. It's somebody else, so med pay on this facility, right, is somebody comes and slips and falls, gets injured, you know what, hey, let's just pay him up to $500,000, up to $5,000, and not have to prove that we're at fault, not have to be sued. So it's kind of the same thing on your auto, where, we don't have to be sued to pay up to $5,000. But, if we know it's our fault, that person has no other options to have coverage, doesn't have group health insurance, wasn't here for, like myself, driving with Don or with Dan or something like that. I have coverage because I have workers' compensation. So the likelihood of us needing that is pretty remote, It's not a lot of money one way or another, but.
Dan, do we have policies that,
Yeah, if anybody besides the staff members driving a city vehicle, then we've got bigger problems, I think.
yeah,
So,
that's what I'm saying.
I talked to Mike about this. I don't really see an issue with not taking it.
Yeah.
I think we're protected either way, so
Anybody opposed to taking that out?
we haven't in
It's a
the past.
monster sum of $160.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, it's-
but what's the what page is that? It's the coverage limit at the $160.
Is the liability limit 5,000 or is it 1,000?
On med pay,
Yeah, you were using payout.
I said 5,000, but it's 1,000. I apologize. Yes. Yep.
Okay.
$1,000 med pay. Yep.
Yeah,
So it's not a big dollar amount either, right?
right. That's oh, there we go. There it is.
Well, I definitely want to keep injunctive relief, because we did not have that in 16 or 17.
Yep.
And we had to pay some
Yep.
big legal bills.
Yep.
I guess is there a specific reason for doing the $5 million general liability policy and not a commercial liability umbrella policy on top of a general liability?
Yeah, Community Insurance Corporation is unique in the way they write their policy, right? We have a $5 million limit, and that's for auto liability, general liability, board members' legal liability, employment practices liability. All the liability is wrapped up in that one limit, as opposed to having an umbrella. Now, we can get higher limits. I can go as high as 20 million with Community Insurance Corporation. Might be a little bit of overkill, I think, but, we haven't looked at higher limits than 5 million.
No, I wasn't necessarily talking about higher limits.
Why
It's
there's not
just-
an umbrella on top of it? Yeah.
Yeah, curious on that one.
And what's nice about this policy is, it's a non-aggregated policy, which means we have $5 million of coverage. We could have one claim for 5 million and still have another 5 million there, right? We don't reduce the aggregate limit because there is no ag. So we could have 10 claims for $5 million and CIC on that sixth opportunity would still pay it out, you know? Where if you had the umbrella, that would be on a per occurrence with an aggregate limit, right? You tap that out, so.
Is that, I guess just in the sense of, again, sort of a difference, there's, and probably under your E&O and/or directors and officers coverage, is there inclusion or cyber, I'm not sure where, but
Yeah.
the defamation portion or defamation and slander portion concern on like social media posts and all that fun stuff, does that fall
So,
into?
yeah, that's part of your general liability form.
And that covers personal injury too, not just like personal injury?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's mostly what comes with libel and slander, right?
Right.
Yeah, so it's, yeah. Personal and advertising injury is what it falls underneath.
Sure.
Yeah. Good question, though. That's I don't get people really thinking about that one,
Joe's an
but it
insurance
happens.
broker, you should've told him.
Oh, were you right?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with?
supposed to. That's supposed to stay completely out. I can ask questions all I want, but there's no advertising.
Safer.
And just curiously on the work comp employer liability, each accident, 100 grand. We're comfortable with that?
Well, so that, the limit on the workers' compensation, state statute requires us to have 151, right? We stay in Wisconsin, right? We're not going outside, we're not going down to Illinois. If we were going down to Illinois and going out to New Jersey and we're going out to Texas and Florida, I'd say we'd want to have $1 million, right? Because the employer's liability is going to cover us for a lawsuit that doesn't come from an employee, right? Because Wisconsin's a no fault, right? Work comp is the sole remedy on work comp, right? But if you go down to Illinois, they have a scaffolding act down there, and it allows an employee to sue an employer. Then I would say we'd want to have $1 million of coverage there.
Yeah.
But not for Wisconsin, as long as we're not, you know, I mean, so somebody's driving out of the state, you know, wherever that injury occurs is where they have the right to file that claim, right? So if it does happen in Illinois, they can file the claim down there in Illinois and get the Illinois benefits. But I don't think we have, unless we're going down there to pick up a truck or something like that, right? I mean,
No, we don't.
We don't do
suspect
that.
it.
No, I guess the,
No.
you know, I mean, I guess the, my consideration is specifically like Don's work. I don't, you know, you've got the general or municipal operations kind of lumped in there.
Yeah.
You know, he's probably the one who's going to be doing something more than clerical.
Right.
Generally, right? And I guess that would be just the one thing I'd say that covers, that municipal operations piece covers if he's out there on any of these
Yeah.
vehicles and all that
I
stuff.
got you, yeah. So, yeah, that municipal operation, regardless of how we have it classified, there's always coverage for that individual, right? They can't walk away from a claim because we had Don in clerical, and he should have been, Don should be in municipal operations. That's part of where that.
Yeah, I mean, I just make it like, as far as a,
Breakout of or payroll, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
okay.
Anything else?
And I'll just throw this out. Municipalities in the state of Wisconsin, I mean, I have never seen one yet that have had $1 million of employer's liability, right? So work comp claim, there's no aggregate limit on it, right? It can be $5 million. But this is an employer's liability. That's a part where an employee could sue us. Or even we hire a subcontractor to come in here and do some work, right? And we think he's got coverage. He gets injured, but he doesn't. His med pay is not going to cover, or his group benefits aren't going to cover it because he was doing work, right? Group health normally excludes that. So now he sues us for a claim, and that's where that employer's liability would kick in first. And then, to answer your question, Jeff, right?
Joe.
Yeah, Joe, I'm sorry, would be then your liability limit of $5 million is over that,
Yep.
right? So
Well, and that, I mean, the employer's liability piece is also, just talk about a increase in claims activity. Employer liability piece is just, it's
Yeah.
going,
Yeah.
it's an important coverage. Just one last random thing, just because it's on here. You got the Unw coverage at 25,000, is that, or 2550, is that just because it's like, you just gotta have it on there, or is that?
Uninsured and underinsured motorists?
Yep.
Yeah, so the reason it's so, I would say it's low, right?
Yeah,
But because of
yeah.
the state statutes, right, we have protection.
Minimum,
Right?
right.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay, I mean, I guess my question there is just, is it, because usually it's a pretty nominal cost, is it worth putting it
They
100,
won't-
300, or
yeah,
250,
they won't even,
500?
CIC
okay.
doesn't even offer it, because it makes no
Gotcha.
sense to throw that limit out there when the state statute protects us. Because then it just gives somebody else more to dig into and take from us.
Yeah,
potentially.
I mean, it would be one of our employees driving our vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Assuming that there's nobody else in it, so,
Yeah.
okay, that is it.
So the only change is the removal of the auto med pay.
Yeah.
That wasn't a change, though. That was never on there?
Yeah, we hadn't taken that before, right?
It
Okay,
just has it quoted to see what it is.
Yep.
But it hadn't been on there prior.
but the injunctive relief is included.
We had it in the past.
In the past.
But we have the option to take it or reject it.
So any motion that we make would have to state
Include.
that we reject the auto med pay,
Med
which
pay,
we've
yeah.
done historically, and that we accept the injunctive relief.
Yeah,
Make the motion.
well said.
Motion to approve the renewal of the insurance for the 2022 property, vehicle, and liability coverages as presented, with the rejection of the auto med pay endorsement and the acceptance of the injunctive release endorsement for the 2022-2023 policy year.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to accept the proposal rejecting auto med pay but including injunctive relief. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nice job, Mike. Motion passes.
Ron, can I get a couple signatures quick?
Sure.
Or by anybody, yeah, it doesn't have to be. So this is the auto med pay, right? Rejecting it,
Here?
there, yep.
When was our cyber attack? Down here?
Nope, and then.
November of 2020,
This is we're accepting the injunction, yeah.
late November. I remember from Thanksgiving. So,
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Moving on, discussion and possible action on a municipal engineering and planning and information technology service contract to R.A. Smith through December 31st, 2022. Mr. Tim Barbeau.
Well, if you've been here a long time, you've seen this contract, because we use the same contract, I think, for the last 25-plus years. The only thing that generally changes is if we have a different scope of work, which that hasn't really changed, and then if we have, and the budget, I mean, I put the budget numbers in there, which we worked out, the prior, last year. So that changes, and then usually our rates change a little bit every year. So this year, we've been, in the budget period, we were actually able to reduce the engineering charges, and basically, I'm on an hourly basis, so if there's not work to do, then we don't charge the full amount of whatever the budget is. So I think we saved over $10,000, I think it was this year, just in engineering. As I say, I think I've said it the last couple of years, having Dan around really helps out. He takes care of a lot of things that I used to have to do, which I appreciate that. Then I can stick to what I do best, which is good. There's nothing real special going on in the town that I'm aware of, unless you're gonna tell me something that I don't know, but if you have any questions, I can answer those.
It's the same contract, right?
Same contracts, kind of the same work tasks. There's other people that work with me. You probably don't see them, they're behind the scenes, but the stormwater, I have a stormwater engineer that does most of the stormwater budget stuff, and I work with a technician on most of the road program work. I do some of that, but he does quite a bit. Inspection, meeting with people, measurements, things like that, so I'm not the only one as part of this. That's why we put all the other rates in there, and so other people know it's, part of the town, and they're getting used to who everybody is out here. So,
Tim, do you feel that your office hours are appropriate, and are people using those, or do people kind of contact you as needed and then you
Yeah.
charge accordingly?
It's-
Or how is
yeah.
that working?
You know, last year, I had a lot of extra vacation, so I took every Friday off in December for myself, but that's my normal office hours, and it really didn't affect, you know, here. And so it's been kind of quiet, I will say, and so I think we have plenty of office hours, and when I can, I push everything, you know, if I get a call, I push it to the office hours time, or if I'm gonna meet with someone, it'd be at office hours or just after, so it works out pretty well. Yeah, I don't think, you know, unless something big comes up, I don't think we need to have any more hours out here.
Then we set it up so that he's here on Friday, the same day our building inspector is, in case
Yeah.
there's any communication that has to go on that way, so.
Not much building going on either, not like it used to be, so. Kinda quiet for now.
Any other questions? And the chair would be open to a motion.
I move to approve the Municipal Engineering and Planning and Information Technology Services contract to R.A. Smith Incorporated through December 31, 2022.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the contract as submitted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Welcome to another year. Motion
Thanks for all you do, Tim.
Enjoyed very much. I hope your citizens enjoyed it. I think a lot of them are very kind with their word, I can say that, when you serve them well.
I should join the planning. Never mind. Any other business? We'll just move on to announcements. Plan Commission meeting is Tuesday, February 1st at 6:30. Town Board is Tuesday, February 8th at 6:30. And another Town Board meeting on February 22nd at 6:30.
We do have an election February 15th, but if anybody asks you folks, it's only for about 6 residents that are in Waukesha School District only. So if you get any questions, let them know.
15th. All right. Okay, if there's nothing else.
Motion to adjourn?
And the plan commission's gonna be a light agenda?
Oh, yeah, it's 2 issues.
2 items.
Okay.
Let's do both certified survey maps, right?
This, CSM and I don't,
The CSM one's a lot combination.
Yeah.
Basic stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
basic stuff.
Cool.
Okay, I have a
Wait,
motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 I'll second.
I'm anticipating. Okay, we're
I was
adjourned.
gonna volunteer Joe for a second.
We are adjourned.
Thank you. I did enough talking for this meeting.